That's what I'm going to do. But I was looking at all the next I think we did that.
All right, folks, if you could find your seats, we are going to get started here in 2 minutes.
We're about we're down, we're about 16, 17 seconds behind on the live stream.
It does that on purpose.
I know, but I'm just giving you, because I know you're wondering how far behind you were.
All right, folks, thank you so much for being here today. This is the District 4 and At-Large DPS School Board Forum. So if you're in the wrong place and are doing something that is police business, that will be out there. I really appreciate you all taking your time to be here tonight, especially on a Friday night. This time of year, election season, scheduling is always tough. This is a time when we can get the candidates and the venue, so I really appreciate all of you for being here and all of the candidates for being here. I am Emily Parker. I'm the Vice Chair of the Democratic Party of Denver. And we are an all-volunteer organization who just work to get out the vote and elect Democrats in Denver, in Colorado, and across the country. In order to do that, it obviously takes money, takes resources, takes time. If you would like to volunteer, make a donation, or any other way to help us, we greatly appreciate that. And to do so, you can see Beth and Hun in the back. They will help get you set up. I want to introduce our moderator for today. This is Tyson Vargas Johnson. Tyson is a former teacher, and so I felt like he had the street cred to moderate a school board panel. He is also a member of the leadership in House District 8, which we are not currently in, but does overlap with much of the District 4 boundaries. So that's why we're here. I want to thank all the people who have helped set this up for today, including all of the people who have done planning, who are helping with check-in, the HD7 leadership team, the HD8 leadership team, which is the geographic areas where District 4 falls. Thank you, everyone. This is not something that any one person can do. So with that, I will throw it over to Tyson to kick us off. Do you have a microphone? Okay, I think I stole one of the at-large microphones. Thank you all again, and this will be available online forever if you want to go back and rewatch it before you cast your vote in November. All right, thank you all.
Good evening. Welcome to the Denver Democrats Public School Board Forum for candidates of DPS District 4 and at-large candidates. As Emily said, my name is Tyson Vargas Johnson, a co-captain of HD8, and I want to start by thanking the candidates. Election to the school board carries deep responsibility to our community and, of course, our next generation. It is extremely important, and it takes courage and sacrifice. Thank you. And I want to say a note of appreciation to Heather Nuane-Estabano, co-captain of HD7, who, where we are currently, she unfortunately could not be here tonight, but she did so much to make tonight happen. And finally, I would like to thank everyone here in attendance and attending online. While the conversation that we are having tonight is very important, I acknowledge it's a Friday, so thank you for taking the time. Now, a quick discussion of tonight's format. The candidates seated furthest from me, farthest to your right, are your at-large candidates. The candidates seated closest to me, to the left side of the audience are running for District 4. If you are a school board District 4 resident, you will receive a ballot with separate elections for both the at-large and District 4 seats. We will start with opening statements. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves and why they are running. To my right, or in front of me rather, we have a clock which will display the time each candidate has, and we will remind the candidates when the time is up. After introductions, we will move to the question and answer portion. The questions have been submitted in advance by members of the Denver Democrats and members from school board, community members from School Board District 4, and candidates will have 1 minute to answer the question. We will rotate through candidates so everyone has the opportunity to answer. And when we start a new question, we will start with a new respondent sequentially down the line. After the 1 minute response questions, we will move to a rapid fire round before moving to closing statements. Please note that tonight we will not be taking questions from the audience. We ask that all candidates keep their remarks respectful and focus on the question. Please hold your answers to the allotted time. And we'd like to ask the audience to maintain a welcoming environment. And please withhold any applause or comments until the end. So with that, we'll begin with our opening statements. Each candidate will have 2 minutes. We'll go alphabetically, so Jeremy Harris, we will start with you.
Thank you. And first of all, thank you all for having me on this Friday evening and taking time out to come. My name is Jeremy Harris. I am a DPS parent, small business owner, and community leader. I'm running because Denver has one of the largest achievement gaps in the nation. And let's be clear, it's not by an accident. The system isn't broken, it's working exactly how it was designed. And for generations, that design has failed Black and brown kids in Denver. But we don't have to accept that. We all can intervene. We can redesign a system where equality and equity finally shows up as outcomes. And we're calling that a new era in education. Every child reading on grade level by third grade, every middle schooler ready for algebra, and every graduate walking across the stage prepared for college or a career. It means safe classrooms where teachers can teach and students can learn with fair discipline that treats every child with dignity. It means supporting our family stability and investing in early childhood education so gaps can close before they even open. I'm running because District 4 families deserve better. Schools they can trust, a system that believes in every child, and a board that delivers results, not excuses. Together we can build a future where every child in Denver, no matter their zip code, enters schools ready to learn in a safe and supportive environment and graduates prepared students for college, a career, entrepreneurship, military. That's the new era we need in education. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Monica Hunter. I'm a proud Denver native, a lifelong Democrat, and I want to tell you a little bit about myself. So I graduated from Denver Public Schools, graduated from George, go Patriots, and I also was a teacher in District 4 my entire teaching career. I taught in Central Park, Montbello, and Green Valley. I also have kids scattered across DPS. And when I was a teacher, I was also very active in my union, where I worked to retain Black educators and founded a caucus specifically for Black educators that worked to ensure that they were well represented during contract and during discussions on innovation schools. When I transitioned out of that, I work currently at the largest union in Colorado, Colorado Education Association, and I worked organizing community schools up until this year where I lobbied CEA in their 150th year to open a Department of Human and Civil Rights, which I am the proud director of. This is the type of work that I've been able to get done, and I hope to bring that innovation to the school board. The school board, as we know, has gone through a lot of changes, and I know a lot of voters are losing trust. I hope to be able to work with whoever is elected to bring some change to it, but also be a voice for students, for parents and for teachers because I have sat in every seat and I understand their perspectives. I also worked to co-found a Black Parent Network, which also is running still and has made really great gains. And these are just some of the things I'm working on. I'd be honored to have your vote. Gives me hope to see you all here. You could be anywhere, but you chose to be here. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Tamaya Jackson, and I'm running for the Denver Public School Board in District 4. A little about me. I'm a DPS parent, I'm a community educator, and a former executive director who's running to ensure that every student in the district has access to a high-quality education that's going to prepare them academically, socially, and emotionally for their future. I've been privileged to wear a lot of different hats in my career, from Dean of Students to Director of Student Services, and I went to school to be a teacher. And although I did not have my traditional classroom, I wanted students to know that no matter how I worked with them, that Ms. Jackson would hold them to high expectations, but would do so with love and grace. We are at a critical point in education where we need strong leadership who is going to listen to the voices of our students, work in partnership with community to ensure that every kid that enters our district has access to a high quality education that prepares them for the future. Too many of the students that I've worked with often say that they lack a sense of belonging. Belonging. That means that too many of our students aren't seeing the purpose. We have a responsibility to ensure that every student is heard, seen, and valued. In my role as a re-engagement specialist, I worked with 348 students last school year, with a 78% success rate in re-engaging those students in their learning. This is the type of leadership that I bring, one where I've led multi-million-dollar budgets to be able to bring free after-school and summer programs to this very community. I would be honored to serve as your next District 4 representative on the board. Thank you.
Excuse me. Good evening, everyone. I just want to first begin by thanking you for hosting this forum. It's a pleasure to be amongst you. I too am a proud DPS graduate. I currently serve as your District 4 Board Director. But the title that I'm most proud of is Mom. I'm the proud mother of 3 DPS graduates. So those that know, G what? G Dub. They graduate, right? I hear you over there. And so I bring to you over 20 years of experience as an education advocate. I sit here with the lived experience of identifying a racist system, dismantling it, and replacing it with something that's equitable that works for all students. Under my leadership, teacher pay has increased over 30%. Minimum wage has been raised to $20. We were the first in the nation to take on Donald Trump through legal action to ensure that all of our students coming to schools are safe. I want to thank the Denver voters for your trust in delivering on the bond. I can stand proudly today to let you know, among other things, we now, within 3 years, every school will have air conditioning. So I want to thank you for the trust. I stand here before you, sit here actually, in green, because for the second time in history, DPS is a green district.
Good evening, everyone. It is so good to have you here. You could have chosen to be anywhere else, but you chose to be here on behalf of Denver's children. And that is why I am here. I'm a native of Colorado, graduated from Thomas Jefferson High School, grew up in Park Hill. As a matter of fact, my family I think we have attended every school and college in this city. And so we span, I've done private education, I've done public education, I've done charter, I've done innovation. I have done all the things. And I stand here to say to you that I believe education is the gateway to a free, balanced, and the souls of our society. And every person and every child has a right to that education. I believe that we need to look at how we are going to retain teachers. I believe that our teacher population should reflect the student population. I believe that our classrooms should be safe and our schools should be safe. And what that looks like is making sure that teachers have the tools and the resources to create safe environments. I believe in equitable outcomes for all children. I stand here, will sit before you with 30 years in this district. I've seen the pendulum swing. I've been under 7 superintendents, and we can do better. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you all for having me, and thank you for being here. I'm Amy Kleinmolk, and I am running at large. I am the proud mom of 2 DPS students. I'm a special education paraprofessional, and I'm an education entrepreneur. I have spent over 20 years working in education advocacy, from supporting at-risk youth to working side by side with our teachers in our classrooms. I believe that education is the last great equalizer, but that promise is slipping away. Parents are losing trust, teachers are burning out, and too many students do not feel safe or supported. My vision is clear. We need strong neighborhood schools in every community. We need to support our teachers with fair pay, smaller class sizes, and real resources. Finally, we need to create safe, future-ready schools so that every student feels protected and prepared for their future ahead. For decades, DPS has followed a reformer playbook of privatization, closures, and competition, a failing strategy that is dividing our communities, and I am running to bring us together. I am running to bring the community together by supporting our teachers and by supporting our communities. I have over 20 years of experience building coalitions, solving big problems, and finding resources where others see scarcity. That is the leadership I will bring to the board. I am proud to be endorsed by the Denver Classroom Teachers Association. If elected, I will work tirelessly to support our teachers to ensure that every student in this great city has the very best education possible. Thank you all so much.
Thank you for being here. For the past 25 years, I've had the honor of working in Denver Public Schools as a teacher, as an assistant principal, and a principal. I'm also a proud DPS parent where my kids went to school. I worked in Northwest, Southwest, and Southeast. And also, I can relate to what our teachers deal with, what our educators deal with, what our families, and most importantly, what our kids deal with as a parent and as an educator. I've been able to bring and work in the most challenging schools that were the most underperforming schools in the district and bring them together and get them to green by working with the community and also working with the staff and also our students. We are 2 green schools that were written off not too long ago. And we did that by building trust, by supporting our educators, by working with our families and listening to the things that our families are doing and need. This is where we need to put our kids first. They're the priority. And yes, there are gaps, and you can hear it right here. This is what I truly believe in. Every student deserves a safe, welcoming school where they can thrive and be challenged. Every educator in the building should also have the pay and also the professional development to grow and that reflects their value. Every family should have a voice in their children when it comes to their children, and every school should have the funding they need for the kids that are in the school. And when the Trump administration attacks public education, I will be the first to fight. I have been fighting as a parent for my kids, and I will fight, and I'll fight for my schools, and I will fight for all of our students and our families. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, candidates. We will now move to the question and answer portion. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to each question. Monica Hunter, we will start with you for this question. In light of the Trump administration's cuts to public education, how will you protect our highest need students, including special education, ELL, at-risk, and neurodiverse learners?
Absolutely. Thank you all again for having me. We know that Trump has made it a personal attack specifically on Democratic states, and the cuts are coming on every level. We know that federally we are experiencing deficits. On the state level, we know they just had a special ledge session to figure out the budget, and we know locally in Denver that our budgets are stretched thin. What you might hear are people promising to do a lot of things and change things, but we know nothing happens without funding. As a neurodivergent learner myself, and kids who have different learning needs, funding is very important to me. And I plan to work with the board members, whoever is elected, to ensure that we are lobbying at our state level and coming together on a federal level to ensure that we are protecting those funds.
As a former executive director, I've managed multi-million-dollar budgets, which has given me the ability to understand what audits mean. As a board member, I know what questions to ask. Never had a dirty audit, always clean. So I know what questions are going to be critical. And in that, if elected to the board, I will ask the correct questions that will allow us to understand how our funds are being allocated. And I also know to ask for the right reports that will allow me to go line by line to understand how those resources that are so precious to us are getting to our students, how they are being spent. Within that, we know that there is an attack on public education. Just this summer, there was a holdup with our federal funds. There is no promise that this will not happen moving forward. And so Colorado should be prepared. We currently have a law on the books known as TBER, which prohibits us from being able to have the funds that we need to invest in our education system. I am committed to working alongside our state partners to ensure that we can repeal or reform this that will allow us to have the funds necessary in our state budget.
With the Trump administration's cuts to public education, how will you protect our highest need students, including special education, ELL, at-risk, and neurodiverse learners?
Okay, thank you for the question. But first, I want to kind of level set here. And yes, we've been under attack with the closing and the defunding of the Department of Education. But please understand that the funds that we receive from the Department of Education are less than 10% of our budget. So that's the impact that we're talking about. And under my leadership, when this threat became a possibility, I asked the superintendent and our CFO to actually look at our budget, where the money was coming from, and where potential gaps could exist. And that's what was done. And so based on that, we have been able to do backwards budgeting planning. So I can tell you what I am doing, and I'm already looking to the future, because every student deserves access. And I do work on the state and the federal level doing advocacy work currently.
So I'm going to start off by answering that question. I just want to remind everyone in the room the uniqueness that we have in Colorado. And I'm going to say no kings, no queens, no thrones. What has to happen is that as Denverites, if we are serious about the fact that everyone deserves a quality education, we need to make that happen. It should not be left up to the federal government to decide how we educate our children. So what does that mean? That means that we are going to have to stop doing things differently and do different things. That means that we are going to have to look at where our priorities really lie. And if we're willing to put what we say we believe in to the test, we can do this. We've got this.
I am so proud to be in a district where we are fighting against this administration, and I will continue to do that work. When I think about what's at risk, and when I think about our job to make sure that we have the highest outcomes for every single child in this district, I really am thinking about those with the highest needs. I have been on the ground floor with those kids working as a special ed paraprofessional. I have been there supporting them in their day-to-day activities. And I am a child that grew up with a learning disability without resources. That is not going to happen to any other child under my watch. And it will be difficult, and we will have to look at where we are going to have funding. But as Director Quattlebaum has said, we have done this, and we are going to continue to do the hard work so that we can protect our most vulnerable kids. Thank you.
This is the work that I've been doing as a principal, where we've had limited cuts over the past 11 years because we worked with community. We had some flexibilities in our budget, and we had a clear plan for the past 11 years. And I'm proud of that. And we grew in enrollment. So that's one. The second thing is I was sat on the state task force where we redesigned the formula for student-based budgeting. And we brought in and we heavily advocated with everyone around the state about additional funding. And the proposal we put in was significantly more, which thank goodness that it was more, because that impact would have been far, far greater. And the third thing, we need to take on and make those changes of the Tabor Amendment. We're already starting to have those conversations because that is limiting us. We can go ahead and complain about Trump and I will continue to fight, but we need to be very clear and understand that we serve our kids, and we will take those initiatives on.
When we talk about budget cuts, we have to look at central office. Central office and DPS is really top heavy. A lot of bureaucracy and a lot of the funding does not reach our classrooms. We have to look at making cuts from the top. We have to look at jobs that don't affect or challenge student outcomes, monies that does not reach the classroom. We also have to look at partnering with our local community organizations. We have a lot of great nonprofits right here in the city that can help fill in the gaps if we were to lose funding from this Trump administration. So I think it starts with looking at central office and looking at cutting some of the bloated waste at the top to ensure that more dollars are spent into our classrooms. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Jackson, you can start our next question. Disagreements and differences of opinion are natural in any decision-making body. However, over the last few years, the DPS school board has made the news for interpersonal conflict rather than policy-based differences. How would you approach resolving conflicts amongst board members in a way that keeps the focus on students and schools rather than personalities?
Thank you for that question.
Testing. There we go. Thank you so much for that question. As a professional, it is our responsibility to make sure that we are modeling the behavior in which we wish to see. Our students are always watching. As a professional, there are going to be times when we're going to disagree. However, it is our responsibility to set norms, expectations for how we will respectfully disagree, have discourse, and move forward. And it's okay to take a break and come back to it. That is what we owe to our communities. It is what we owe to our students. If we're teaching that to our students, we need to be modeling that behavior as well as board members.
Thank you for that question. And I will tell you what I have been doing. And what I have been doing is speaking truth to power. I pull my colleagues aside and have private conversations with them. I support where support needs to happen. I don't want to say admonish, but I do that as well when that needs to happen. Because discourse is what we need. You don't want a board that agrees 100% of the time. You have to have diversity of thought. That's very important for the democratic process to move forward. It's important for our students to see that. Yet it is important for us to remain professional, and I model the behavior. And I think that that's probably the best thing to do, is to model the behavior.
So I think top of mind is remembering why we are on the board, and that is optimal learning for every student. What it takes in order for us to reach those goals is collaboration. And it doesn't mean that we are always going to agree. I believe that iron sharpens iron. And so, but what it does mean is that we have to come with a spirit of wanting to do the right thing, and remembering that we're not there to serve ourselves. We are there to serve families. We are there to serve children. That should be top priority. And I think that when we have that in mind, that we will do the right thing. I'm coming to this board with that in mind.
I believe that we are stronger together, and I have put together 2 different boards for 2 different companies that I ran. And when bringing those boards together, I chose people who were polar opposites, because I knew that if we could all work together, we would be serving our customers, in this case, our students. It is the diversity of the team that serves the collective good. And I believe in leading by example, by being the change that you want to see in the world. So every day, I will show up with an open mind, a listening ear, and a collaborative heart. And that is how I will lead.
One of my proudest accomplishments was that Kepner Middle School when it was closed, there was a lot of adversity. Families were angry, upset, low enrollment. There was major division. And they asked us to come in and open up a school. And we did that, and we took on that challenge. And what we did is the people that were upset, we brought them to the table, and not only brought them to the table, they contributed and brought food to the table. And that's how we resolve things with the board. Have a common mission and vision. Because I ask you, what is the mission of DPS right now? There's a pause on that. We need to reestablish our mission of focusing on our kids and ensuring that all the things and action steps and decisions we make always are about putting our kids first. They deserve that. And we need to take care of the individuals that are doing the work, as well. Democracy is hard, but that's why we're democratic.
Could you repeat the question?
Sure.
Disagreements and differences of opinion are natural in any decision-making body. However, over the last few years, the DPS school board has made the news for interpersonal conflict rather than policy-based differences. How would you approach resolving conflict amongst board members in a way that keeps the focus on students and schools rather than personalities?
We have to make sure that we all have the same goal as a board, and that is student outcomes and student achievement, and making sure students are prepared for a life outside of DPS, whether it's college, whether it's trade, entrepreneurship. As a board member, right now, one of the reasons that I also ran is because we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on censorship when that money could be going towards our classrooms, towards our teachers and our students. I believe that we have to make sure that we put our political views aside and our ideologies and really focus on what's important, and that is student outcomes. So I wanted to make sure that, building relationships with board members, maybe outside of the board, retreats and things like that, to make sure that we create a relationship with one another, to make sure that we are all level-headed in the same goals. Thank you.
Okay, so I wanted to start off by saying, before I'm anything else, I'm a mother, and I want my kids to always be proud of who they see in leadership roles and at work. I bring my kids with me to work, and I always want them to be able to see me as a role model, and I am committed to being a role model if elected. I know that united we can stand and divided we fall. And we cannot afford internal conflicts when we have external threats coming for our district. We just can't afford it right now. And I know that no one board member can pass any resolution. My mentor told me that. She said, how are you going to pass resolutions on your own? You can't. So you have to develop relationships with every single board member, whether they agree with you on some stuff or not. And my commitment is to work with whoever is elected, whoever they're backed by, whatever they come with, whatever background and experience they have. My commitment to you is to work with them.
Thank you. Director Quattlebaum, we'll start with you for the next question. With the reality of decreasing enrollment, school closures have been a contentious topic in recent years. How would you address the impact of declining student enrollment on local neighborhood schools?
Thank you for the question. And no one wants to close schools. Many of you in here have seen me in board meetings when I've had to take those difficult votes, and they are very emotional. I co-authored our school closure and consolidation policy that ensured that we are not looking at enrollment as the only data point when the superintendent is bringing a recommendation forward. There are multiple factors that go into that decision, go into the recommendation. And that policy was co-authored with community. Community is represented in that. We listened, we heard. And at the top of that is we listen to the community. And yes, occasionally we will have to make those tough decisions. And I stand here to say that not only am I capable of it, I have done it.
So I do not believe in school closure, and I know it's easy to say that. When we close a school, I think that we undermine the community that's around that school. I think that we undermine the children who were going to that school and their families. I think we need to look at schooling differently. I think we need to see our schools as extensions of our communities and our neighborhoods. And so that should always be the absolute last resort. But thinking about schooling and learning differently is where we need to go, especially in getting children ready for 21st century learning. We need to look at how we use our schools and how we can use them effectively to make impact for our families, our communities, and our students.
The week before last, I believe, I was at a community engagement session with some of our current board members in Southwest Denver, and a mom was really, really upset because her neighborhood school had been closed and she and her family had been forced into a charter school, and her kids were not getting the education that they were promised. And she was looking to the board for guidance, and the board's hands were tied. We have to make our schools desirable. That's where we have to put our energy. We have to rebuild them. We have to strengthen community, and we have to make everyone proud of their neighborhood school. That's how we get people there, is we put amazing educators in those schools and we support those amazing educators. And that is what I will do on the board.
As a principal that has seen families in tears because of the closing of a school, it motivates me even more to run for this board. When Castro Elementary was closed, 3 months later, they put in another school. Guess how many students that next school had? The same amount. Seeing the tears in the families of a school that has been part of the neighborhood for many, many of years, and we did not reach out to the families. We did not reach out to the community. We made a decision within 24 hours. That's where we need to fix it. We need to look at the big picture. The next thing I'll say, we've known about this problem for the past 10 years. This is not something new. We've known about it. Why hasn't anything been done? As a principal, if I know my enrollment's going down, I am required to start taking care of the staff and ensuring that we are planning ahead and forecasting ahead. Those are the questions I'll push on the board to ensure that we are doing the right thing for families and kids.
When we talk about declining enrollment, we have to talk with communities and parents to understand why is it that they're leaving their neighborhood schools. Many of them do not believe that they are finding high quality education right at home. So it starts with making sure that we are investing into courses such as IB, advanced placement, career and technical education, and dual enrollment. There's a lot of kids right here in District 4 who go to the local high schools, community high schools, and once it's time for them to go off to college, they find themselves taking remedial courses because they was not offered dual enrollment at that particular school. So we have to co-create solutions with communities to say, hey, what type of school do you want to see in your neighborhood? What type of courses or programs do you want for your child? That way families don't have to travel outside of their community to find high quality education. Thank you.
As I said earlier, I'm a Denver native, and I grew up in a time where schools were just closing all over Denver, and people didn't know where their school was going to be open or closed. And I also taught in Montbello at John Mez the year that school was either going to be closed or turned charter. And I have lobbied, and I remember going to board meetings and begging them not to close our school, and the kids that I taught asking if their school was going to get shut down. And I know how important schools are. Schools are the anchor to community. They are the soul and heart of any neighborhood. And so we have to look at other ways to support schools. We know that Colorado is in the bottom 40 for funding. And as long as we have Tabor, it's going to continue to be an issue. I lobbied this past year. I emailed board and asked them, about thinking of other ways, and they had to close schools. But we have to think of other ways to protect our communities and our community schools.
Since 2021, we've been under the current administration and DPS, we've been having conversations around school closures without any transparency from the board around how these lists are being generated. And as you can imagine, it's caused a lot of fear and anxiety in our communities. And I've had families come to me and ask why, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to give them answers. As a board member, it is our responsibility to lead with transparency. to make sure that our communities are aware of the decisions that are being made and why they are being made. But not only that, but to also engage them in conversation. I can assure you that when we talk about school closures, having one meeting where there's a set agenda of bullet points that have been predetermined is not the answer. We have to make sure that we are being transparent, because when we close schools, we know that there's a lasting impact and effect on our communities.
We will begin our next question with Deborah at the at-large table. And staying on the topic of declining enrollment, every new or renewed charter school affects the viability of nearby district-run schools. Can you please share the criteria that would guide your decision-making process when it comes to approving or renewing charter schools?
So, I think I mentioned with you, I've stated that I've done it all. Because I was not satisfied with the public school in my community, I tried charter, I've done private, I've done innovation, I've done it all. I think the key is making sure that the public schools are meeting the needs of the communities where they exist. How do you choose a charter school? Well, I think that you first have to look at what is the charter school doing that will add to the community. What is it doing to, extend learning goals? Those are some of the things that I would want to look at, but I really believe that our public schools can meet the need.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. Remaining on the topic of declining enrollment, every new or renewed charter school affects the viability of nearby district-run schools. Can you please share the criteria that would guide your decision-making process when it comes to approving or renewing charter schools?
So at the end of the day, our job is to make sure that our students have the very best education and the best outcomes possible. Families and communities oftentimes know what is best for their children, and so do educators. And when we look at charter schools and we look at any type of school where we are waiving the rights of our educators, we are silencing a crucial voice to the success of our students. So when I think about that, I would go to the schools. I would say, are you happy? Are you treated fairly? Are you a certified teacher? Do you deliver something that other teachers do not? Are your kids that we talked about, our most vulnerable kids, are they being protected with the resources that they need? And I would want to know the answer to those questions, because I know in strong neighborhood schools, that's what kids are getting, and we're going to keep on fighting for that.
Every neighborhood deserves high quality schools. I agree. And charter schools, innovation schools, and neighborhood schools are neighborhood schools. And it's about serving the needs of our kids. And also working with our families and the voices of our teachers. I just redesigned a school meeting innovation with our teachers in creating a unique model that suddenly became 2 high-performing schools. Who made the decision on that? The teachers in the buildings. So to point it to the charter school thing, we are held to higher standards in innovation school. Charter schools are held to high standards too. They have to renew. And in both cases, they're under law. Innovation is a law, charter is a law. But bottom line, the way I make the decision is, are they high performing? Are the families involved? Are they providing something unique? Right now, I'm in the process of renewing, and it's about high performance and also providing a unique experience for our kids.
I believe we have to hold all schools to the same high standards, whether it's charter, district-run, innovation schools. One of the things I would take into mind when extending or reinstating a charter's application, if you would, is student growth, not just test scores, but student growth. How are students performing on daily and weekly assessments within those schools? And secondly, are these charter schools providing quality education and services to our special education needs students? I want to say, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, about 40% of the DPS students attend a charter school. But charter schools are not serving a high population of our special education students. So I would want to make sure that the school is, one, performing at a high standard, and secondly, that we are seeing a high service of our special needs students within that charter school.
As a former DCTA member, I fought to ensure that innovation schools could not waive the rights and the collective bargaining rights of teachers. Because teachers were asked to waive contract rights and like their right to representation, their right to a lunch break, and the Black Educators Caucus, which I founded, successfully lobbied them to change that, so that if you are in an innovation school, you are not asked to waive your rights, which impacts retention. The criteria that I would consider is the discipline data. I would also consider if they are open to collective bargaining for all teachers, how many educators are licensed and certified, how many SPED students they have, what is their student growth, and also community and parent outcomes, because I've heard a lot of concerns from parents who feel that they should have more accountability.
Okay, thank you. Regardless, I'll say this, public dollars in public schools. Regardless of the model, charter, innovation, district run, we have to make sure that all of our schools are held to high expectations, that our kids are getting exactly what they need, that there's transparency, we're consulting with community, and then ultimately we are accountable. So when looking at renewals for charters, we know that charters are required to take an assessment that looks at the overall health of the school, their financial stability, how many teachers they have, how are the kids doing social, emotionally, academically. These are the critical questions that not only should we be asking of our charters, but any school where any student is attending, innovation or traditional. So as a board member, I am committed to asking those questions that give us the overall snapshot of how is this school doing, how are they meeting the needs of every student in the district.
So the reality of it is, I will not rehash what has been said. Charter school renewals are state statute. We don't have control over the decision. They're performing academically, they're financially viable, meet other criteria. We receive that information, we examine it, and we make the decision according to the law. But what I will tell you I did, that big, beautiful school, Rasa, originally came to us as a charter application, and it's a district-run school because the community wanted an art school out there. And so I work with those to bring these programs to the community. Also, we have a school right down the street, Academy A360, wasn't performing academically, but they were doing amazing mental health support. I rallied the votes to ensure that that school had another year to continue the good work for our students and their families.
Many immigrant students and their families feel legitimate fear due to the brutal immigration enforcement policies, including ICE activities in and around our schools. What actions can the school board take to ensure that these students both feel safe and are safe, as well as supported and welcome at school?
This is a heartbreaking question because far too many students are experiencing this right now. School is a safe place where kids get to come every day. They know that they are going to be able to eat breakfast and lunch there, and they know that they have safe grown-ups that they can trust. That must be maintained. We will do everything in our power, and I feel like I speak for everyone up here, I hope so at least, that we cannot allow ICE to come into our schools, that we need to protect our students. And I will do everything in my power, even if it means laying down in front of doors. That is how seriously I take this.
As a principal that has seen the eyes of our students and the fear of our students and our families, I can relate. 50 families were in my library when this initial thing, they received a text message saying they had to exit the country and they were looking for help. Information came in at the district level, but it was so much information, it was overwhelming. We broke down the information, we brought in attorneys to support those students, and then we educated our teachers and our staff that what we're going to do to ensure that ICE does not come in, but we also had to educate our families. Furthermore, we provided supports, clothing, food, safety through the Beacon ambassadors, and we utilized the families in our building. And that's the kind of atmosphere we got to provide in all schools. We need to be proactive because we know the problem is going to be coming in, but how do we support our families? So I'm proud of the fact of the things that we've done in Beacon schools, that we took the initiative to support the families and provide them the resources they need.
I would want to see DPS hire family engagement specialists with that particularly help those migrant families. We do have to protect them, and we do have to make sure that we give them those resources that they need, wraparound services for those immigrants to make sure that ICE does not come into our school and disrupt those children from learning. Every child in DPS deserves that access to affordable and equitable education. And it goes beyond the classroom when we talk about these kids, but making sure that they have the resources at home through our community hubs for those kids. Thank you.
I want to say that I unequivocally denounce ICE, and I feel like they have no place in our schools and in our city. I know you guys can't clap, but I know you feel me. I am proud to have facilitated Know Your Rights trainings for Colorado Education Association, which we have over 40,000 teachers and nurses, and I will continue to offer those whether I am elected or not. We need to be training every educator to be on the front line because people have asked me, what can I do? I'm willing to do it, and I am willing to stand with them to protect our kids. We need to be offering mental health services to students and teachers who are experiencing fear right now. And we also need to be ensuring that they know that we will stand up for them. We need to have Know Your Rights training for parents and make sure we are offering that in every language at ICE.
As a former board chair of a school in Far Northeast, when we started to have experiences with ICE, I worked with our leadership in order to allocate resources to make sure that we were able to support our families, including also with legal services. In addition to that, providing those trainings, as Ms. Hunter just mentioned, for Know Your Rights. As a board, it is our responsibility to ensure that our schools are physically, socially, and emotionally safe places and beacons for our students. It is our responsibility to continue to fight this administration, to challenge any legal actions that are coming down our way, to make sure that our kids know that this is a safe place for them, where their social, emotional, and mental needs will be looked upon when they enter our doors. Not only that, but also making sure that when they're in transition to and from school, that we're able to protect them as well. And last but not least, offering opportunities for people to talk about what they're experiencing is important too.
Let's be clear. ICE is not allowed in our schools. ICE is not allowed on our buses. That is what our policy is, and we enforce it. That is what we are doing. I have partnered with City Council. I actually serve as the co-chair for this, the city DPS collaborative committee. We spent the better half of the first year addressing this very problem, because it's not just a Denver Public School problem. It's a Denver problem. So we are partnering not just with City Council, but with the mayor's office as well. We do hold classes for our educators. We have attorneys on call to do pro bono work. We are on this. And I'm gonna stop there because I was actually advocating for this in DC when this happened. And I sat with our state legislators, our federal legislators, crying because we all wanted to be here. We're working.
I do not want to rehash what everyone has said, because obviously it is not okay for ICE to be in our schools, but that is not enough, because those children have to leave those schools. They have to go into neighborhoods, they have to go home, and so do families. We need to work with our community organizations, our neighborhood organizations, and our churches. And this is all hands on deck, and we need to come together to make sure that all of our children are protected and safe.
Thank you. This ends the 1-minute response portion, and we will now move on to our rapid fire round. For this section, you will have 30 seconds to answer. Alex, we will start with you. Can you please share the endorsements you have received and why they are important to you?
Well, the first endorsement is my family. I've also received endorsements from Denver Families Action, also Transformation Education Now, and former board members, also Senator James Coleman, who's the president of the Senate for Colorado, and also and many of the educators I've worked with.
As Mr. McDonough mentioned, I'm proud to be endorsed by my family as well, along with our everyday community and hardworking educators, not just from DPS, but from other districts around that have given me their support. I'm also proud to be endorsed by different religious leaders who we will be announcing here in the upcoming weeks. So our endorsement is not from any special interest groups or outside dark money, but we are endorsed by our average, everyday people and parents and community. And thank you.
I am proud to be endorsed by the Denver Classroom Teachers Association, which is composed of classroom teachers, psychologists, and nurses and social workers. I'm also proud to be endorsed by AFT, which makes up our payer union, and I'm also proud to have just earned DOUS, which is the Denver Area Labor Federation. I committed early on to not take meetings and meet with special interest groups and make sure that dark money was not a proud part of my campaign. So I'm proud to have earned those endorsements.
As so many have already said, my family, thank you so much. Wouldn't be here without you guys. Denver Families Action has also endorsed me in Transform Education Now. I also have the support of Teresa Pena, Nate Easley, and other community members as well.
I am proud to say that I am endorsed by the people. I am running a people power campaign. I am excited about that. I am not beholden to any special interest group. As a matter of fact, I speak truth to power, and I speak truth to those special interest groups. So, and you can go to my website, which is quattlebaumfordenverkids.com, and you can see the many different elected officials, teachers, therapists, and all of the folks that have endorsed me personally.
So I am proud to be endorsed by my family, several organizations in the community, many community leaders. But most importantly, I think that it's interesting that in order to, that is something that is, I guess, important. We are talking about the minds of our children, and we are talking about representing them. I'm here to represent children, and I hope that you will vote for me, but endorsements are not top of mind for me.
I would not be here today without the endorsement of the Denver Classroom Teachers Association. I believe that our teachers are the backbone to our education system, and I am so proud to stand with them. I am also endorsed by AFT. I'm endorsed by DELF. I'm endorsed by Lori Goldstein, who is the president of Adams 12 School Board. And I am very excited to be here and to earn more endorsements, but mostly to earn your trust and your respect. Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Sorry, Jeremy. Considering the topic of education, from A to F, how would you grade the school board's performance in the last 4 years?
Bill.
I see what they're doing, and I am not necessarily running against anyone, but I'm running for kids. Because of the distrust, I'm going to give a C, C minus, C plus, just in that range.
I'm gonna go with a D plus.
As a current city board member, I'm going to give us a B. I'm sitting here in green. Second time in DPS history. Under my leadership, we are a green district. We just received our state data points. We're higher than the state here in DPS. But there's still work to be done. And that's why I'm seeking your support and your vote to continue to work.
As a teacher, there are many perspectives. As a parent, there are many perspectives that I have. I would give the district a B minus. I believe that we can do better and that we will do better. As a board member, I will move and in collaboration to make sure that we reach that A. What I would say is that it's easy to criticize. It's a big district. We've got to do more.
There is always room for improvement. I think we're moving in the right direction, and I am really proud of some of the decisions that have been made. I think we can work on our transparency, and I think we can work on our accountability. But I would also give a B plus. I think we are right there, and we got to get it over the finish line. And I just want to be really clear that as a child who is terrified of grades, this is not my favorite question.
Well, as a executive principal that has 2 of the schools that were green, that contributed to the green for the district, we also need to break down the academics piece of how are we doing of serving all kids? What's the measure? How is culture in the district? How is our growth? So we need to factor all those things in, and there's lots of growth to be made. So there is some things to celebrate, but we also need to address the major gaps that still exist. So I would go with a D.
Next question. Sorry. Should all DPS schools have a school resource officer?
No, absolutely not. I spoke against this as a teacher when they were first removed, and while I did speak against it, I did feel like it needed more community input and not just input from teachers. But we cannot continue to have a conversation on resource officers without conversations on class sizes, conversations on mental health, conversations on overworked and tired psychologists and therapists, but no.
When it comes to SROs, it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. What I would like to propose is that we put a safety committee into schools that allow us to have feedback from our students, our teachers, our principals, our educators, all of our community constituents, that those reports come back to the board so that we can understand what the needs are, how things are going, and then make decisions from there. So I don't have enough information to make a blanket statement for the entire policy at this time.
Very interesting question. And I can let you know because you can look up what my position is. I've already taken the vote on this one, and my vote was a no vote. I believe that when we're talking about bringing officers into our schools, we have to talk to the community. We have to, and that doesn't just include our parents, because a lot of the parents feel differently about SROs than our students do, and I voted with students.
I believe that there are other solutions that should be looked at when it comes to the behavioral issues in our schools. I think that is a community, family, and school decision. Student voice is very important. And no, I do not think that we need officers in schools.
I think that we have to look to our community. It's interesting. I see that it's very divided. A lot of parents have come to me, a lot of parents in all the different neighborhoods that I've been in running at large, and they have said that they do want school resource officers in schools. And even I was just speaking at Emily Griffith High School, and some of the kids there were talking about safety and that they oftentimes didn't feel safe. But I think before we can even answer that question, we have to look at the mental health supports in place. That is number one.
As a principal that's worked directly with SROs, we had great relationship. We didn't have the high numbers that everyone talks about. We had a solid where kids and parents would work with the SRO, and he was a member of our community and lived in the community, which was the most powerful thing. And then go back to the intent of the original process of SROs, it was better thought out. Highly impacted communities, that's where it was. All of a sudden, decisions were made like this of take out SROs, and what happened after?
I believe that our schools, certain schools, should have SROs. We know last year alone 144 weapons were found on DPS campuses. There was a gun just found at East High School. We need SROs in those high targeted areas, those schools that have a high need or see a lot of threats within those schools. SROs are not there to intervene in discipline measures, but they are there for threats and violence within our schools. So I am for SROs.
All right, for the next 5 questions, we will do a quick series of raising your hand. So please raise your hand if the statement is consistent with your position. Book bans in our schools have dramatically increased over the last 5 years. These bans target books dealing with race, racism, and LGBTQ+ topics. Raise your hand if you oppose book bans in our schools. Thank you. Raise your hand if you support evaluating teachers on the basis of standardized testing. Thank you. Raise your hand if you support having gender-neutral restrooms in schools. Thank you. Given the expected federal and state budget cuts, raise your hand if you would personally endorse TABOR reform to help fill funding gaps in education over the long term. Thank you. There are currently no charter schools where the teachers are unionized. Raise your hand if you would support all charter school teachers' ability to unionize. Thank you. And thank you again, candidates. At this point, we will move into our closing statements. And each candidate will have 1 minute. We'll start again. Here.
Thank you. Tonight you've heard a lot of ideas, but I want to leave you with this again. Denver Public Schools have one of the largest achievement gaps in the nation. This is not equity, and it is not justice. That failure shows up in our children who can't read by 3rd grade, middle schoolers who aren't ready for algebra, and graduates who walk across the stage without skills that they need for college or a career. That is not the fault of our kids or families. It's the fault of a system that has refused to change for decades. My name is Jeremy Harris, and I want to ask for your vote and your support this November. We have an opportunity to bring new, community-driven solutions to the school board. I'm a parent. I am the communications chair for the Swagger PTA, and I am with family, and I'm standing with our families and our teachers and our students. Thank you.
Again, thank you all for coming out and being here tonight. You could be anywhere else in Denver on Friday night, but you all chose to be here and actively engaged, and that is no small thing. I want to it is a crowded election, and you may ask what sets me apart. Again, I am endorsed by the Denver Classroom Teachers Association, AFT, as well as DALF, and so that is teachers and nurses and paraprofessionals have put their trust in me because I was a licensed classroom teacher. I currently have kids in this district, and I am a graduate of Denver, and I'm from Denver. I know this. I work full-time for educators, and I will continue to do that, whether I'm elected or whether I'm not. I'm asking today that you put your trust in me and elect me this November. Thank you all.
I am Tamaya Jackson. I'm a DPS parent. I am a community educator, and I've had the privilege of being able to work with young people my entire career. Not only have I supported the young people, but I've also supported the adults who show up day in and day out to also do this work with our students. We have to make sure that every student that walks in our doors gets a high quality education that is going to prepare them for their future. We can only do that if all of us are coming together collectively to ensure that the voices and the needs of our students are elevated to the top. I have spent my entire career doing this, and I am prepared to continue doing this should you choose to elect me to the board this November. And even if not, I will continue to show up and advocate for our kids because they deserve, this is the least that we can do. Our kids deserve better. They are our future.
Thank you for coming out tonight. I just want to remind you that 4 years ago, you gave me a mandate to go to the Denver Public School Board to ensure that mental health was prioritized as a line item in our budget. We have destigmatized the phrase mental health. We have, you sent me to do a lot of things, and I've accomplished those things. Mental health, raising hourly wages, raising teacher pay. What you didn't know you sent me to do is to stand up to Trump. And I've done it, and I will continue to do it. Now is not the time to change course. We are winning in Denver Public Schools. I will say it again. We are a green district. We are a green district. Our MPGs are higher than the states. And I just ask again for your support and your vote November 4th.
Nelson Mandela said the purpose of education is to turn mirrors into windows. I believe that in order to do that, we need to have board members who are willing to think about 21st century education. We've got to look at learning differently. We need to look at skills that build critical thinking, curiosity, and problem solving. Every day, I walk into a classroom and I tell my kids that they are brilliant. I have it on their lockers that they are brilliant minds. I have it on the door that they are brilliant minds. And I remind them that there is nothing that they cannot achieve. I'm asking you to consider sending me to the board as a teacher voice. We've tried every voice, and then now it's time to try teacher voice. I'm not telling you what I did in the past. I'm telling you what I do every day. My name is Deborah Sensorad, and I would appreciate the opportunity to have your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you all for being here. I'm running because I believe deeply in public education, and I believe deeply in supporting our students. I worked as an education advocate, and I worked as a person building education companies, one of which actually created differentiated interactive learning during COVID, where kids were not sitting in front of a screen. It was being used as a conduit. That taught me what it feels like to make change. And so I went to go work in a school as a special ed paraprofessional. I am running because I believe every student deserves a strong school. Every educator deserves to feel supported, and every family deserves to feel heard, and they deserve to have a district that they can trust. I will work tirelessly, and I will bring the skill set that I have built running companies and working in classrooms to our board. Thank you again for being here.
I'm currently running 2 schools as the executive principal, and I'm running for the board. I say that because that's how committed I am in creating positive change, because our kids deserve better than the status quo. But I also want to talk to you as a parent. My son could not read in elementary. The recommendation was for him to be retained. Come to find out, he had dyslexia. My wife and I fortunately had the resources to get him the supports. Guess what? That changed my leadership. I created a reading class, partnered with an organization, and we brought in 2 robust libraries for all of our kids, and we accelerated reading, which we're extremely proud of. I've been serving kids, thousands of kids, for the past 25 years, and I will fight and continue to fight. I was asked to take on a challenge of opening a school, and I did it. And I was asked to take on this challenge, and I will do this as well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. That concludes our questions for this evening. On behalf of the Denver Democrats, I'd like to thank all the candidates for being here, for your participation, and for your commitment to public service. Thank you very much. And to the audience, thank you for taking the time to listen, learn, and engage with our candidates here this evening. Your participation makes our public schools and our community stronger. As a reminder, this was all videoed, so if you would like to revisit it, it will be on the Denver Democrats YouTube, as Emily said, forever. So, thank you, and have a wonderful rest of your night.
Anything forever is my wisdom, right? The internet dies with us.
Yeah, when the internet dies.
All right. End of the live stream.